Welcome to Leadership Unfiltered, the podcast where real leaders get real about what it takes to succeed in today's fast-paced corporate world. I'm Dr. Dayan Douse, founder and president of P.R.I.D.E Consulting, a human behavior and development company serving as an executive coach and facilitator, working with organizations to deliver practical ways to evolve teams, advance organizations, and transform cultures. I hold a PhD in organization and management with over 2 decades of leadership experience in Fortune 500 companies. And I'm best-selling co-author of the book, Nothing But Net. I'm joined by my co-host, Phillip Smith. Phillip is a seasoned technology executive with extensive experience leading large-scale engineering teams and driving digital transformation. Over his 25 years of leadership experience, he has held multiple roles from supervisor to vice president. His personal brand is coder by blood, architect by trade, and leader by choice. Every episode will deliver real-world strategies, unfiltered advice, and the tools you'll need to take your leadership to the next level. Let's get started.
Welcome, and today we are going to continue our conversation around the 10 tensions of leadership. This one, again, those 10 tensions of leadership by Justin Wright. This one is about perfection and progress, the tension between those two. Justin says, ship, learn, refine. Sometimes good enough to test is exactly right. I want to start with a story where I didn't get it right. I had been given the responsibility of innovation for the firm. It was a big responsibility that I was very grateful to have been given. It came down from the board. The board said we needed to innovate. There were technologies and approaches that we needed to incorporate in terms of how we were running the business. And I really wanted to take that responsibility and demonstrate that we could be innovative. Because I believe that. I believe that we could be innovative. And we could take that step. And when you're in a company full of engineers, innovation can be difficult because when you engineer a solution, you are trying to get it to as close to perfect as it can because you don't want it to fail. Right. And so the culture of engineering permeated everything. You didn't tape it. You bolted it and you welded it. It was about making sure that it was overbuilt so that it could never fail. Because when things failed, sometimes people lost their lives. And so it was very important that things didn't fail. Life and death type of environment that we were in didn't apply to everything, but yet it applied to everything. From a cultural perspective, that sense of get it right 100% of the time permeated everything. And it impacted me. And I get it now why the board was really forcing innovation, because they knew this too. They knew that the company needed to take a balanced approach to making sure where it mattered, where it was life and death on the line, engineer that thing 100% of the time. But where you've got additional flexibility, where you don't have that criticality, you need more flexibility to innovate, to be able to push the boundary and to fail safely. And so while I had the charter to innovate, I hadn't fully absorbed what it means to fail safely, what it means to drive an innovative culture. And while I took that mantle and pushed it forward, my own perfectionism, my own sense of engineering, my own sense of it has to be right, not only impacted my leadership ability, but it also directly impacted the team because it kept them from experimenting with innovation.
Yes. Yeah.
And they wanted to design the perfect experiment. So while we were chartered with experimenting and being innovative, you can't do that and have an engineering mindset. You have to have a more agile mindset. You have to have a more, it is safe to fail, it is safe to learn, it's safe to try these things out in the real world versus in a lab. right? So innovation requires that you fail in the real. My inability to see how important it was that we had that as a core tenet of our culture kept us from being as successful as I believe we could have been. We were successful inside the confines of an engineering culture, but if we were to lift that up and apply that to a truly innovative research and development type of environment, it's apples and oranges. Right. And so while we absolutely met the intention of the board, we absolutely made progress in shifting and pushing the culture, you have to take stock of yourself and take stock of, where are you in terms of your views of progress versus perfection. And while I'm proud of the work that we did, I definitely didn't get it right. I won't say I got it wrong, but I definitely didn't get it right. There was definitely opportunity for me to create a safer environment for the team so that even the experiment, even the processes we were following didn't have to be perfect. It was okay for the processes that we were following to fail, let alone for an actual experiment to fail. And so being able to look back and go, yeah, there's definitely some tension between perfection and progress. And that was one of the cases where I don't think I got it quite right.
Question, I appreciate that story. Engineering culture that drives some of that perfection, or is it was it the company culture that drove some of that perfection? And the reason I ask that is I'm curious, would other engineering organizations face that? Would this help those in that space, in that discipline? Or was it more of a combination, or the company culture?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both.
Okay.
I think the company's culture demands engineers. So when you're dealing with folks in manholes, person holes, when you're dealing with folks at heights, when you're dealing with high voltage, when you're dealing with explosive materials, when you're dealing with things that could cause environmental hazards, when you're dealing with that type of, if that's the industry that you're in, you have to engineer solutions that don't fail.
Yeah.
Ever.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of what the company demanded, rightfully so, which fell into the need for this 100% of the time mentality. Yeah. And the key is, how do you peel that apart and make sure that you're applying it where it matters, where perfection does matter over progress, and then separate it where it doesn't. Yeah. Because that agility will give you the flexibility that you need to be successful across a multitude of spectrums. And so no one's going to say we need to experiment with someone being able to operate safely at heights. Like, we're not going to run that experiment with a person. Right. But there are things that we can run experiments on. Like, hey, does backup cameras vehicles reduce the number of accidents? You can run that experiment. Right. And so we can find out, create an environment where that's more the case.
That's good. That helps. Yeah, I appreciate that. I just didn't want those listening to say, oh, I'm an engineer, I'm in this space, so I need to be perfect. Right? It depends on what solution you're engineering.
Yes.
Whether it's perfection over progress.
One of the places where I think I got it more right was we were putting in very large software. We were talking hundreds of millions of dollars. This entire program was hundreds of millions of dollars, and the core of it was this piece of software. And we needed it to work. You don't spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a program only for it to not work. Right. But when you're dealing with something that touches the heart of a company, it touches customer, it touches operations, it touches folks in the field, it touches folks at the contact center, when it touches just everything, it is impossible for it to be perfect. Yeah. The expectation that it be perfect is tempting. It's really, really tempting, especially if you're a senior executive. Because oftentimes when those things don't go well, senior executives lose jobs.
Yes.
And so I absolutely can understand the temptation. It needs to be perfect, but it can't be. Being responsible for that program, I used my learnings to make sure that I was constantly reinforcing up and down that this is not going to be perfect. It's going to be rocky, but we need to go. But the point at which we go will be when it is good enough, when we can support what we put in, and it's better than what we have. So you'll get to a place where the new solution, while not perfect, because it'll never be, it is progress. It is better than what you have. And when you hit that point and you can put it in, have it successfully operable, that's when you know it's time to go. And so when you're sitting in those rooms having the go, no-go decision, like, do you pull the trigger on these very large, very complicated, very intricate deployments that require hundreds of people to coordinate activity? You know when it's time to go, when you can operate it, it's good enough, and it's better than what you have.
That's good. And when I was thinking about this tension, I started with there's nothing perfect on this green earth because we're human, and that immediately draws imperfection. Everything we touch as humans is imperfect. We try to be, because there are situations that require doctors who perform surgery, engineers who are working on solutions for what we call life-critical work. Try to get it perfect, but because you have the human nature element in all of this, it can't be perfect, and the requirements change fast and often. And so the answer, you used a word in one of the stories that I think is the answer to perfection versus progress, and that's agility. Agility allows you to try to get, I'm going to take the word perfect out from it, to try to get it right, to be as close to perfect as you can. But agility brings that flexibility and helps you with the requirements that change. And so we often work with clients on the skateboard, method, which says when a client comes to you and they have requirements, and the requirement is they want to build a car. And you think about project work and waterfall would say, okay, what type of car do you want? And they start to describe this car to you. I want a luxury car, and it needs to have all of these things in it, right? All these luxury items. And so to try to be perfect, a waterfall project would go off and they try to build that car based on requirements, and it may take them weeks or months or years. And the problem with waterfall often is they don't check in with the customer on the progress that they're making along the way. They try to build that perfect solution and bring it back. And when they do, oftentimes in that time span, the requirements have changed. Life has happened. They bring back what they thought the requirements were and what they thought they heard, to only recognize or realize that they failed. And so Agile has you check in with the requirements, with your customers, with the people around you often enough so that you are making progress and not striving for perfection, and that you can deliver some value along the way. And so this skateboard process methodology that we take clients through, it says, okay, we try to talk them through the requirements and saying, is it really a car that you're looking for? What are you after? And they'll say, well, I'm trying to get from point A to point B faster, right? And you say, okay, well, instead of starting with a car, how about would a skateboard get you from point A to point B faster? You say yes, and you go off and you build a skateboard. Now that's not perfect, but they did move faster. Now the customer gets to weigh in and say, yeah, that was great, and it did get me from point A to point B faster. However, there's a lot of wind on a skateboard, And I don't really want to win because that slows me down or it, keeps me from doing certain things. So, and I can't steer the skateboard very well. He said, okay, well, if we take the skateboard and put some handlebars on it, could you steer that better? I said, okay, so we have to put handlebars. And we keep building out this skateboard to eventually it turns into faster, more reliable, sturdy, maneuverable transportation. And what we thought was going to be a car turns out to be a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
All along we were making progress. And if we'd have shot for perfection in the car, we wouldn't have got to the motorcycle.
Takeaway around the agile and having agility in terms of getting that customer interaction, customer feedback, is both the customer and you have to be willing to fail.
Yes.
When, again, Justin opens with ship, like the first thing is to get it out there
Yes.
and then learn. But there has to be an agreement between who you're shipping it to and the shipper. Yes. That we know this is an experiment. We know we're putting this out there in order to learn. And one of the things that has plagued a lot of traditional IT organizations is that IT organizations have trained business units that if you don't get it in, you're never going to get it. And that causes the business units, the operating units, to be very hesitant to try being agile because they've been burned. Where, we're going to do this agile thing, you're telling me we're going to run experiments, and then you ship this thing, and then something else happens, and I'm left with something that's half-baked. On one side, and on the other side, it's the funding process, which is, if you want this money, you need to articulate everything that you want so that all the funding for it can be appropriated, which causes projects to be less likely to be killed when they need to be killed. Because that's the other thing about agility, which is you should be able to shut down when the value evaporates, when you think there's value there, but there actually isn't. Mm-hmm. Right. And so the key is to create that agreement between both the recipient as well as yourself in terms of how you're going to do that progress over perfection. Yes. Whether you call it agile, whether you call it whatever you prefer to call it.
Yes.
Not to get caught up in the dogma of agility, but fundamentally it is that creating that agreement where you and your partner are traveling that road together.
Yeah. And I think of, I mentioned it, doctors, they take you through progress, right? They say, okay, you come in with something's wrong. They don't immediately jump to surgery, right? It is, we're going to make progress. So we're going to start with therapy. We're going to start with medication. We're going to start with these things to see what kind of progress we can make before we get to the answer of we're going to make this perfect, so we're going to go right to surgery. There are many instances in our lives where we think we would just go for perfection, but really progress is the way to go, because you get to a point where you are being innovative. You do start to look at things from different perspectives through that progress, through those failures, through those experiments. If you are shooting for perfection right from the beginning, that is a high environment for stress for everybody in it, right? If you create an environment where you allow for experimentation, where you allow for failure that is not failure that you can't return from, but that you are truly learning from, then that gives everybody a sense of involvement, engagement, encouragement to go out and be innovative and try different solutions or different approaches. I'll just speak for myself. I don't think I'm a perfectionist, and I don't think I coach folks who are perfectionists, but what I've learned about myself and then try to apply it to leaders who get stuck in this mindset of it needing to be perfect is I've learned I hold on to things when they aren't perfect because I don't want the feedback that they aren't perfect. And so I will hold on to them until I believe they are perfect enough to get the feedback that I want. Not the feedback in general, not the honest, open feedback that will help me grow. I hold on to it and I won't ship it until I say, okay, if I ship it now, they'll give me the feedback I'm looking for, which is a terrible, very high stressful way to handle anything personal or professional. And so I've learned over time is, we've talked about it in other episodes, feedback is a gift.
Yes.
And you really want the open, honest feedback, because that is the only way to grow and develop, is to get that feedback. And the sooner you can ship it, the sooner that it's good enough, the better you are. The faster you can learn and grow and get back to the next iteration of what you are trying to deliver. And so, I try to give that to leaders who are stuck in this mental model of I need to be perfect, my team needs to be perfect, and what we deliver needs to be perfect, and none of that is true. I have also coached teams where the leader is trying to get the team to deliver and be agile and move, and the team, who are veterans, experts in their space, hold on. Mm-hmm. Because they are perfectionists. Mm-hmm. And the leader is trying to get that team to move, and they are stuck. And so, again, we try to apply some of those principles to say, what does good enough look like? What can we deliver of value to the customer now? It may not be the end solution, but we want to give them something as soon as we can. That gives them value. And so talking the leader through how to help that team that is holding on because they are expert. And as an expert, I don't, it's got to be perfect. Just kind of dispelling some of those myths and opening up that environment, for different perspectives. So those are some of the ways to try to get through some of those high stressful and fear.
Yes.
Is another impact to trying to be perfect. Right? It's really, I was fearful of the feedback I was going to get. That team is fearful. They say executives could lose their job. Mm-hmm. People, could lose their jobs if this isn't perfect. Mm-hmm. That's fear. And in those environments of fear, not a lot of innovation, not a lot of growth and development.
I could not agree more. I think So I am a recovering perfectionist. They called me Eagle Eye. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the nicknames that my team gave me. It was like Eagle Eye Phillip, because he's going to see it. Yeah. Like, if it was a pixel off, I would see it. Yeah. If it was a shade off, I would see it. I thought about that to say, is, going back to the 80-20 rule, like, is that last 20% of effort that they're putting in to make it perfect worth it? Is that last 20% to close that perceived quality gap worth the 80% of the effort that they're putting in? The answer is no. The vast majority of the time, the answer is no. So I had to, really take stock to say, what is the productivity impact that I'm having on my team by expecting things to be perfect? And it's significant. And what's the hit on myself to say, when I create something, the expectation that it be perfect, it's not worth it. So embracing good enough, right, is so important. And it seemed odd because there was a dichotomy between my complete embrace of Agile and my perfectionism. Yes. They clashed with each other. And it took me a while to, even inside, if we're talking about a sprint, even inside a sprint, that it simply needs to be good enough. It simply needs to pass or fail the test. Yes. Failing a test is valid. And so getting to the end of a sprint and not have all the tests pass, it's like, wait, what? Like, all the tests have to pass. Yeah. Like, well, if all the tests pass, right, what did you really learn? There is so much learning, to your point, that gets left on the table being a perfectionist. that, and again, there are times where it does need to be 100%. And so this isn't to demonize perfectionism. It isn't to demonize something needing to be perfect. It's that those cases where something needs to be perfect are rare and they're targeted. And you need to be able to turn it on and off. You need to be able to say, okay, this is a situation where it needs to be 100%. And we need to check, cross-check, triple-check. Yes. If it's a pixel off, we need to fix that pixel.
Yes.
But those are rare and should not be part of the culture. Your culture needs to have the flexibility to know the difference. To be able to understand that, hey, in this situation, this is what good enough looks like. And in this situation, this is what good enough looks like. And for those good enoughs to be different.
Yeah, and so I'm in my mind challenging the word perfection. Because perfect to who? To your customer, maybe you can say that it's perfect. But it's not going to be perfect to everyone. So is there really, again, in the corporate world, when you're delivering to a specific customer, and that customer agrees, this is exactly what I wanted, you can claim that to be perfect. But I don't know if there's such a thing. Because outside of the customer, and is there one customer or multiple? If there's multiple customers, then is everybody going to say it's 100% what I want? Usually not. So I like getting to 100% of the requirement. Does not mean it's perfect.
And I'm still on my, like I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yes.
And so while I hear you, I disagree slightly. Yeah. And I think it comes back to what you said, it's about our definition of perfection.
Yes.
So for me, perfection is about fitness for use.
Okay.
So if what you're trying to do is cut a piece of paper, scissors are perfect for that. What you're trying to do is cut a piece of paper. They're not perfect for opening a cardboard box.
Right.
They can do it. You can absolutely open a cardboard box with a pair of scissors. You shouldn't, but you can.
Yes.
And also a box cutter, while we'll cut a piece of paper, it will do it. It's not perfect for that, right? And so for me, perfection is about fitness for use. It's like for what you're trying to accomplish. Now, do you need those scissors to be razor sharp? No, right? Especially if you're going to give them to a kindergartner to, build, their first mobile, right?
Yes.
Right? No, you don't want them razor sharp. Yes. What you do, you want them just sharp enough
yes.
to do the job. Because any sharper than that can pose other... And so for me, that has helped me to go, okay, is it good enough? Is it fit for its use? And that has helped me kind of shape how I think about perfection to get away from it's a bad thing.
Yes.
Because that creates shame and judgment for us recovering perfectionists, which is also not a good thing. Yes. It's like, there are times when you want to turn on is this thing fit for use? I'll speak for myself. That's allowed me to say, okay, this thing that I have that allows me to see when a pixel is off, I can ask myself the question, is that pixel being off hindering its fitness for use?
Yes.
Because it's still off, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I will still see it.
Yes. Yes.
It's still off.
Yes.
But is it hindering its fitness for use?
Yes.
In which case, then I can say, it's not worth mentioning it. It's not even worth bringing it up.
Yes.
Because it will make no difference in its usefulness.
Yes. Or
it absolutely will. We need to go after that.
I love that fit for use. It still takes me away from perfection.
Okay.
Because I would exchange the two.
Okay.
I wouldn't equate the two. I would exchange fit for use for perfection to say that is fit for use. It is good for that, or you can even say perfect for that use, as long as the requirements of that customer meet it. So the scissors are good for me because I'm cutting a single sheet of paper. As soon as the requirements change, it is not perfect anymore.
Agreed.
It's fit for use. It's fit for that use.
Yes.
But it's not perfect.
Yes.
So
because if you have a stack of papers, you probably want a paper cut.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, we're mincing words.
Yes.
Right. We're splitting hairs. But just in my mind, just because when I get stuck in perfection, drives all kind of bad behavior, all kind of bad non-useful mental stress and fear. And so it may be just my own personal but not trying to shame those who look at perfection as the way they operate. But
yeah, I
want to take away that fear and stress for those who find themselves trying to be perfectionists or stuck with that mental model.
And I think we're in agreement fundamentally.
Yes.
I think where we're differing is the framing. I think, which is, I think there's a desire to say, and this is what I think I hear you saying, let's shift the conversation away from perfect as a concept, because there's so much negative connotation around what that creates fear and stress. And I hear you, and I think mine is maybe just slightly more nuanced, which is to say, it's okay to embrace perfection in the appropriate places. To say, there are times when you want to embrace your ability to see perfection, but you have to temper it with fitness for use.
Yes.
And that's where I've landed as a recovering perfectionist.
Yes.
Which is, I'm never going to not see it. It's hard for me to hear, and I know this isn't what you said, but it's hard for me to hear someone say, well, that part of you creates fear. And yes, it can. That part of me that sees that pixel off can absolutely create fear. I've seen it. But for me to say, I want to pull it apart from the identity that is me, from how that shows up for other people.
Yes.
Which is, it's really important that I temper, because I'm not going to not see it, with making sure that it doesn't create fear for myself or other people.
Yes.
And that's where we're 100% in agreement.
Yes. Perfect. Awesome.
Interesting. Our timer did not go off, which is okay by me. But we had a fantastic conversation, and we will wrap up with another one of the 10 tensions of leadership, which is perfection versus progress. And we had a really good conversation about both of those in terms of, one, how do you leverage progress and agility in focusing on making sure that you are creating a safe environment for your team and for your customers so you can travel that road together, and also the nuances of perfection, how the dark side of that can sap productivity, can sap and create fear and really inhibit the progress that you want to make as a leader and for your team. But at the same time, how do you leverage it so that you are making sure that you're getting to the value and in a way that is just enough?
Good.
So with that, we will see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in to Leadership Unfiltered. We hope you have found value in our conversation and are ready to take action in your leadership journey. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And don't forget to connect with us on social media for more leadership insights and resources. Until next time, keep leading with purpose.